No.
Post-production.
Bill's going to sing, right?
No,
Okay.
definitely not. I wouldn't inflict that on anybody.
Well, apparently we're live already on YouTube.
That's quick.
Now all we've got to do is wait for the secondary echo as it's got its time delay. Oh no, look, I managed to mute it before. Awesome.
Oh, you're getting better at this, Pete.
I'm getting better at this. It might have been because I've gone on there and muted it before we even started. I've been practicing. I know.
Right,
So
here it comes,
tonight,
the really, really professional introduction. Go, Pete, go.
You stepped on my toes on the professional intro I started and you stepped all over it.
Oh my gosh.
So we have our long-standing friend Geoff, who's come over, who's back in the States, who was over in the UK, black belt under Master Sauer, and has been around sort of us and the club for quite a long time, actually. Second Master Sauer seminar that he came to in the UK.
I think it was. It was back at the old place.
Yeah.
Was that 2014? I think that was.
I think so.
Yeah. That was right. Yeah.
Yeah, 2014. So
that was the initial thing.
Yeah, awesome. And that wasn't that the day that Marcel said, "Do you want to do your brown belt tomorrow?"
He did. I declined.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah. Because I was like, oh man, I want to do this right. And he threw that on me. He's like, oh, my friend. He's like, you're about ready to test for your brown belt. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I said, no, let's hold off on that. So I held off on it for a number of years after that. But it was a good wait because I'm super happy I did that. So yeah, he was there. I thought, God, I didn't know too many of you guys. I really just knew he was coming to town. I'm like, I'm going to come down and can't miss him if he's in the area. So that's what I think the initial meeting with all you guys.
Yeah. Doesn't seem like that long ago, really. And then
time flies by.
Yeah, and then we got to hang out in Iceland not that long ago. When was Iceland? That wasn't that long ago, was it?
Was that 2018?
2018.
Yeah.
Did you guys go the year after? I didn't make it over.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got 2019 as well. Obviously,
Yeah,
20 happened.
That's a great trip. I mean, I'm bummed I didn't make that more than once.
Yeah. Well, who knows? You never know. We might get Haldor to get it all set up now.
So is he running a place over there now?
Yeah, he's working with he's using the Icelandic Olympic Judo Center.
Wow.
Which
awesome.
Sounds very grand, but because of their population, that's only about 4 people. 4 people that are training. But no, it looks good. It's a huge, but he'll be online in a minute. He'll come and beat me up. That was a huge mat space when you see his photos and stuff, but and looks super nice. But yeah, he's doing classes out of there, so it's pretty cool.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, the last time I got to see him was when he got promoted. So
yeah,
you were there, weren't you?
That was fun.
Yeah.
Now that I'm back, I try to make it up to all the headquarters. They have conferences twice a year. They had to cancel because of the virus this year, so I think they'll have a fall one. And it's just always good to get over there. Hopefully one day maybe you guys can come over.
hopefully.
Yeah.
How far is that?
For me, it's 10 hours. So yeah, more than likely I'd fly up there for that 10-hour drive.
Yeah. That's a long one. It looked busy last time though. That last camp when Haldor did his black belt, it looked like quite a busy camp.
That's why they're great. The ones I've been to the last couple of years are just absolutely packed. He gets in, Master Sauer has like his previous Salt Lake City group, which is still growing strong. So he'll get a lot of the instructors coming out of there, come teach, and he'll kind of get some people that were like, the instructors to do a session. And it's fantastic to kind of meet some of those guys that are kind of from the generation prior, and all of them are just, they're incredible. So it's always a fun time. You know, you try to write and learn as much as you can and meet people and make connections.
You find you learn more from the instructors or from everybody else that you get the chance to train with? Because there's so many people there, right? So from all over.
It's overwhelming, right? Because you train, you'll go sit through an instructor's class. I mean, the way they did it last time, it was 2 or 3 different sessions a day, I think. So each one, you know, each instructor, you're learning a ton, and then you have to try to file that away and move on to the next class. So it is cool to find a partner, and then, you know, hopefully they work through that and you can remember and drill stuff later with them and try to put it into your game. I'm happy if I walk away remembering 30% of what someone showed.
Yeah. Is that all you can eat buffet? Just
Yeah,
take what you
exactly. At some point, you just are gorged.
Saturation.
Yeah. Get to that head saturation point where you just, no, there's nothing else that can go in today.
Yeah, exactly.
So Geoff, I wasn't there in 2012, so forgive me. Not 2012, 2014. I didn't. So if you've already told Pete and Rob how you started in jiu-jitsu or how you came to it, I didn't hear it, so I'm going to ask you to tell me again.
Let's see. Oh, well, so jiu-jitsu started for me in 2003, like January, I believe. I was looking for self-defense, and I was looking for something to be active in. I think for the prior years, I was, so I'll even back up a little more. The reason I was looking at jiu-jitsu or martial arts in general was I grew up in high school. I did high school wrestling. So I enjoyed kind of the grappling sports. And I kind of fell out of that. I did that through high school and 1 year at university. And then, you know, there's not a lot of opportunity to do that afterwards. So I kind of was always trying to be active, and I got into things like cycling and running and trying to do triathlons, which you guys have seen me. I am not built to be a triathlete. So I did a lot of that and had fun at it, but it was, you know, I tried to go and do actual races and just wasn't very successful. So I wanted to do something else. Had always loved the grappling. Wanted to do a martial arts to have a little bit more comfort in self-defense. So I started looking at all kinds of martial arts. So I was looking at the Kali and Salat and all these other things. And then someone was talking about jiu-jitsu, and I thought, oh, I've heard of that. So it was in the back of my mind. And then I was getting on a airplane flying home. I'd gone up to, where was I? think I was doing a work trip, and there was these 2 guys in front of me, and they had gis wrapped up. I can't remember if they were in a bag or whatever, but they were talking about this thing, you know, jiu-jitsu, this tournament they had just gone to. And I was like, oh man. So I asked them, I was like, what are you guys talking about? And they said, oh, we're talking about Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and we trained here in Atlanta, which is where I was living at the time. I said, really? I said, I'm going to check this out. So then I put it on the calendar to really see what this is all about. At that time, there was 2 schools that I knew of in Atlanta. One of them was Alliance headquarters, which was under Jacare, and there was Tiger Academy, which is under Eddie Camden, who was a Pedro, at the time he was a Pedro brown belt. And I didn't know the difference. I didn't know who Pedro Sauer was. I didn't know who Jacare was. I didn't know anything. So I just picked one, and I picked the one that was closest to my house, which was Eddie's school, Eddie Camden's, and went up there and chatted with him. And you know, he was great. He said, "Come on in." And they had already had a small, I wouldn't say it's a small club, but they had a good sized club running. Signed up, started training, and I loved it. You know, I was there. Well, I wouldn't say I was there every day. I wish I had trained every day when I was a little bit younger, but I was there as much as I could, and it became my community, which maybe you guys experienced that. You know, had some of my best friends come out of that school, and so that's how I got started. Was with not with Pedro himself, but with one of his first black belts. Because shortly after I started, Eddie went and got his tested for his black belt. So trained with him for 2 to 3 years, 3 or so years, and then I had to move to Virginia, and I was really bummed about that. I thought, oh man, I'm losing the school, because the school was great, loved it. And so I went up to Virginia, and I was looking around, and I couldn't find a school that was quite as organized, because Tiger was a really good organized school as far as curriculum and how they ran things, and was popping around, and kind of actually just joined a school where, you know, it wasn't quite as built up, but it was close by. Started training with them. They were, and I think they were somewhat affiliated with, you know, Pedro Sauer. And I signed up. There was a guy there who now has his own academy. He was the head instructor from Brazil, brown belt, super talented guy. And literally the first week I signed up there, he said, "Hey, you guys, I'm leaving. I'm going to go start my own school," because he was being paid to teach classes at this school. And I thought, oh my gosh, I just signed up. And in the States, a lot of times you sign, you know, the kind of the year contract with a lot of the schools. And I thought, oh, what's going on? So I talked to the owner, who became a good friend of mine, Dave Anderson. I was like, "Hey man, look, this guy's moving on. I really want to go train under a high level guy. Besides him, you know, there's maybe a purple belt. So I'm not sure who was going to teach his classes. I think I just want to kind of cancel my membership and probably go try somewhere else." And he goes, no, don't cancel on me. Just hang with me. Hang with me. So it's like, what's going on? He's like, "I got something big." I'm like, "Well, what do you got going?" I need to go find a place to train. He goes, okay. I got Pedro Sauer coming. And I was like, "What do you mean you got Pedro Sauer?" He's like, "No, he's moving out here and he's going to be teaching at the gym." So I was like, "Really?" I almost didn't believe him. But about I guess a month later, sure enough, I ran over on a Sunday afternoon and helped unload all of Pedro's stuff. A bunch of us went over, helped him move in, and he moved to Virginia and started training, started teaching at the school and doing his seminars on the weekends. And so that's where and then I stuck with him for quite a while till I ended up moving to the UK.
Wow.
That's kind of how I got started, and where I actually got to run into Pedro, and loved it ever since.
I can't imagine anybody learning from you know, Pedro Sauer, Master Sauer, and quitting.
And quitting.
Yeah, but he must have people that obviously that don't stay the test of time. But
Yeah,
he's I mean, he's such an amazing character. I can't imagine people experience that and then walk away. But yeah.
He'll tell you. He tells all, you know, he tells us stories all the time about when he's doing seminars about staying on the mat, and you know, and we need to take care not to try to kill each other every day, because you want to, you know, be in it for the long haul. And those are the guys that I did see quit. You know, as much as you're thinking, I can't believe the guys are going to quit. There was a lot of guys that came in and just wanted to brawl, and those guys aren't around anymore. And they, you know, they usually last 2 years before they move on, it seems. And I'm not sure what they go do because you just lose contact with them.
I imagine they just stop, don't they? They just go, they get injured, or they get their ego hurt, and then, no, that's not for me. I'm not going to do that again.
Yes, probably. I mean, I think you got to get rid of the ego, right? If I would, you know, I feel like where I'm at now, I can't have an ego because I'm getting older, and it doesn't matter whatever my level, you know, there's a lot of really talented young kids coming up, and I should, you know, and I'm glad to be able to teach a lot of them. But if I had an ego every day when one of these guys caught me in something, I would be, you know, very frustrated. But I think I look at it as I'm helping teach the next generation.
I very rarely remember roles. It's just kind of like, you know, live each moment by the moment. But I do remember rolling with you in Iceland, Geoff, and I thought I thought we was having a nice little roll around, and I felt like I was doing good, and then all of a sudden I was upside down and tapping from some crazy loop choke. That sticks in my mind, you know. It just came from nowhere. It was amazing. I was like, oh, I need to learn that. What did you do?
Hey, I don't think I've created one thing in my jiu-jitsu career. I've stolen it all. I've either learned it from Master Sauer or someone else.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was but I don't remember rolls, but I do remember that one vividly.
That was that Iceland trip. That was a tough mat on that open mat day, wasn't it? That was how many? So there was
Raoul from Amsterdam.
Yeah. So there was Raoul. There was his purple belt who terrorized me. And then there was obviously Alan, and he really terrorized me that day. He absolutely, like, Alan, when he rolls with us, obviously plays with us, and we train, and he'll roll and go, yeah, you're doing great. That day, no, he just tore through me, just did not stop. I don't even know how long it was. I lost count of how many times I tapped and how quickly I tapped each time. He just absolutely. I came back. These guys will tell you, I had about 3 months where I walked around like this.
He genuinely was shell shocked, Geoff.
I genuinely had PTSD from being beaten up by Alan. I did not know what to do for about 3 months.
I remember that. I remember that because I feel like I don't know if I felt a little dehydrated because we'd been on that little bus tour and all that stuff, and then it was open mat, and I really wanted to do open mat, so I was excited about that. And I'd had a couple rolls, and then Master Sauer says, "Hey, why don't you go roll with Raoul?" And there's a lot of rolls that the rolls that I remember is usually people like him, or there's guys at the seminar and the conference, a lot of the black belts, Rylan Lazares and a bunch of other, Adam Miller, a bunch of these guys, and you roll with them, and you feel like you just went back down to like blue belt or something, because they let you do stuff and then they just stop it and they're not trying, and it gets really frustrating, and you're like, what I know, what's going on here, let's just so I did that with Raoul. I love to play guard, so I tried to play guard with him, and I'm sure he's thinking, what is this guy doing? Because he's a lot bigger than me, and he just smashed through my guard. It was insane.
Raoul was really cool. One of the things I remember, maybe that was just that day. I have a good memory for what happens in Iceland, but I remember Raoul and his heavy leg, like just the use of his heavy leg was just astonishing.
I ran into those guys in Glasgow when Master Sauer came over and did a seminar up there. So
Which
they
year
came
was
over. That was 2019, I think.
Yeah,
So
we were going to go, but we had Luis Heredia came to us, so we had something booked the same day.
Man, it was a good seminar.
Always.
So, Geoff, you said you started out with the wrestling back at high school, and it's something that I always wonder about. Oh, look at that.
That's Hickson.
Excellent.
I don't know if that would be a compliment to name my cat. I did name my cat, so I'm not quite sure how he would take that.
I bet you can't keep him on his back, can you?
No, he's quite talented. He fights with the other cat, and there's a lot of jiu-jitsu that goes on.
He's never lost.
He's never lost.
I was going to say, so with the wrestling, obviously in the States, I don't know whether or not everybody gets the chance to wrestle, or whether you just pick it as a sport to do. But you've obviously taught in the UK and spent some time over here. The exposure that you get wrestling in the States at school, and does that kind of set you up better for jiu-jitsu? Is there any like comparisons you can draw there, or?
So I think some people might disagree with me, but I think wrestling does prepare you well for if you're going to do no gi.
Okay.
I think you can take a lot of the wrestling that you learn, in specifically the takedowns, in the on the ground. I don't know. Besides having an understanding or just kind of that ability to feel body pressure and positioning, I don't know if it really helps a whole lot. But on takedowns in no gi, it would. Now, when you switch to the gi, in my opinion, it gets the gi negates all of that if the guy can get grips. Then I think judo is much more preferable for standing than if in a jiu-jitsu fight versus wrestling. So I'll teach a lot of because I don't know a whole lot of judo, but I know a decent amount of wrestling. I'm always trying to adapt wrestling takedowns for the gi, and a lot of it is showing guys how to clear a grip, because if grips are set in, it's really hard to do a lot of the takedowns that I know of. You kind of need to clear those grips or try a takedown before they establish some solid grips. So I wouldn't say it's a huge benefit, but being comfortable, it does. If you have done some wrestling, some standing takedowns, it makes you a lot more comfortable. Like now, because I feel old. I don't love doing. I used to love to do takedowns. I don't do them a whole lot because I actually kind of worry that I'm going to get something hurt, and I don't want to be off the mat. So I'll drill them sometimes, and I'll teach them, but very rarely do I set up where a class is doing specific takedown sparring. I think you kind of, because you run the risk of getting some injuries unless people really know what they're doing. So you need to kind of have a group of people that are a little bit at higher level, in my opinion, if you want to run like a competition type class or something like that.
Yeah.
So one thing I've started to do though that's similar to that is, so when I talk about wrestling takedowns and jiu-jitsu, I think I'm probably talking about like in a competition scenario. But the self-defense aspect, there's probably a lot of transition that wrestling can help, right? Especially for what we drill, we work with like doing a lot of T position and things like that. So I take a lot of those positions and I might modify them a little bit that come from wrestling. So instead of the T position takedowns, I might switch it to T position, but it's a body lock hold and work that position to do the takedown. And I like to, when I'm thinking about it that way in a self-defense standpoint, I feel like getting into an entry, closing the distance, it's all some good stuff you can learn from wrestling.
So when you're in the UK and you get like brand new people through the door, quite often, jiu-jitsu is the first time they've ever done any sort of like grappling. They've not had that kind of that wrestling experience. Does everybody get asked to wrestle at some point in their school? Is it part of the curriculum? No.
So they have they'll have seasons, a spring, a winter, and a fall season for sports in the high schools and middle schools level. And so you get to pick. You don't have to play a sport. They don't make everyone play a sport. I kind of wish they did. I don't know if in the UK if you have to play at least a sport, right, in school.
Yeah, you have to do. There's like mandatory PE. It's probably twice a week now. They have to do something twice a week.
Yeah, I wish they would mandate that, but most people pick a sport, and the predominant ones are football or American football, and then football, soccer is growing. Basketball and baseball; those are kind of the 4 to 5 sports. So wrestling wasn't one, but when I was a freshman, my first year in high school, I weighed 100 pounds, which is, I don't even know, I have to do the conversion for kilos. And I did play football, I did play soccer, but I wanted to do something different. And I wasn't going to play American football is too little, too short to play basketball. So there wasn't a sport for me. So I did wrestling. because at least I was going to have a level playing field with someone my size. Wrestling wasn't very popular, mainly because it was hard, right? We had long practices. They were, it's just like a kind of like an intense jujitsu session. You're doing a lot of cardio, you're doing a lot of constant drilling, and then you have to fight at the end of it. And then you can't eat. You're always trying to lose weight. So a lot of people didn't want to do it. It was, I think it was a respected sport, but it definitely wasn't a popular sport.
What do you think about it's a weird question, but left field with the wrestling. Do you think it changes because it's more prevalent in the States in terms of people doing it? Do you think it changes the dynamics of self-defense and street fights in the States compared to, say, the UK, where it's just not done by anyone?
Well, so wrestling might not be done by anyone, but I think the UK has a lot of people who do judo and do like other martial arts. I think by and large, most fights in a self-defense standpoint are, a striking type of fight. That's how it starts. That's just what people do. So I don't really know if there's a benefit to self-defense. I think it's a good way to lead yourself into what the Gracies, talk about. That when you're dealing with self-defense, it's going to probably go to the ground, and you need to be able to, handle yourself on the ground. The problem with wrestling is while you might be able to entangle someone and maybe take them onto the ground, it kind of stops there. You can create some kind of pressure to subdue someone if you were a really good wrestler and, some high level guys, but there's not any submissions in it and things like that. So.
Interesting.
Yeah, you see in the UFC, like the wrestlers have a fantastic takedown game, but also so athletic as well. And you said how hard it is as a sport.
Yeah,
such good engines for it. So
yeah. So you look at those guys, and they're really great at taking people down, and that's what's. I saw. I'll change my thought real quick. I was watching a YouTube, and it was can't believe it. What's his name? the wrestler, the champion. So bad. My UFC data.
What weight category?
The guy from Georgia, the Russian guy.
Khabib.
But, he's going to be upset that I couldn't remember his name.
I was thinking, when you said Georgia, I was thinking Atlanta, Georgia.
No, not Atlanta, the other Georgia. So I saw him. He went to a wrestling practice that was being held with a bunch of high-level high school wrestlers and stuff like that. And so they were doing actual wrestling. And it was great because he was holding his own. And then you could realize that once he took down this one guy who was like rated as the biggest prospect for the university, he was coming out as the #1 high school wrestler in the country. So he took him down, and once he got him down, he was also like showing that, hey, in the UFC, I would be punching you here. So he was able to take down a high-level wrestler and then apply, what would be striking to it. And they didn't do any striking. He was just kind of showing how it would come into play. And so I think that's, the skill right there. If you can, as long as you're not going against a crazy striker who you never can close the distance on. And there are a couple of those around.
Yep.
It's just
I saw the same video that you were talking about actually, and it did look like I don't know, like a lion and his cub kind of thing. It was just it wasn't fair.
It was Daniel Cormier's wrestling practice. If you go find it, it's great to watch.
Okay. Yeah, I need to watch that. There's all sorts of stories about him, and they're just destroying everyone in the gym from heavyweights to down.
Yeah.
I guess it's just that thing of someone who's the top of their game for that thing, put them against anyone who's good at it but not like that incredible athlete for that, and it's
Yeah. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I'm having like this crazy thunderstorm.
Is that what that is?
Can you hear that?
Yeah, I can just about hear. Is that the rain?
That's why the room got a lot darker. It rains a lot different over here. So
how long have you been back there now, Geoff? Is it
a year?
a whole year?
A year. Yeah.
And
So,
anything you're missing about the UK at all?
So, I do. Yeah, I miss the club I was training at, because you spend a lot of time, and you guys know this way as like running a club. Spend a lot of time investing in it. Sweat and blood and everything, and you make a lot of good friendships. And so I miss a lot of that because I felt like that was the first time I walked into a place, and I don't know if you guys ever met. There was a guy that I helped that ran this school with me, named Lewis Matthews. He's a Gracie Baja black belt up north in not in Leeds but in Harrogate, and he runs it now. But we built that from the ground up, and it's fun to look at that and see all the people there and see the success, and then it's kind of sad to have to leave it and then start all over. And so I'm not really starting over. There's a Pedro affiliate close by that's run by Jamie Williams, who's a black belt. And so I teach over there and train over there as much as possible. So it's but I'm kind of coming into established school, so you kind of come in and you got to make friends and make sure that people like you. don't think you're a jackass or whatever.
That's easy for you, right? That's easy for you.
I'm constantly putting my foot in my mouth. I have to be careful.
Oh dear. So is it because of Master Sauer moving to Atlanta? Is that why? Because that's the association, from what I can see, it's got such a strong presence sort of in the south of the States compared to sort of everywhere else. Is it just because that's where he kind of landed? And
so he was out in Utah. I don't know how long he was in Utah. So he has a super strong base of the schools out there. And so from what I understand, early on when he was in Utah and people were still learning about jiu-jitsu and it wasn't around a lot, people were traveling and they would go spend, a month or week or whatever in Utah to train with him. And that's like Geoff Curran did a lot of that, I believe. And there's a lot of other guys that did that. And that's the same thing that Eddie Camden did for a bit. So they would go and they would train and learn, and then they would come back and kind of start their own thing. I don't know why because there definitely are a lot of his affiliates in the South, which would be, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia. And that's probably because starting in, when did he move? Starting in 2006 is when he went to Virginia, I think. And so those are all schools that are probably have grown out of him being on the East Coast. Yeah.
Do you get to? I mean, for us, when I think about going on holiday, I'm always thinking, "Oh, I wonder what school I might be able to go and visit." Do the same thoughts? Do the same thoughts cross your mind, Geoff? Or
always, especially when I was a lower belt, whenever I traveled, I took a gi with me, and I was constantly like, the most important thing on my trip was not my work. I was like, where's the school? Where's the school? I hope I'm done by the end of the day so I can get to, class. And so I would message people, and I would train at any gym really. Well, I would make sure I would contact the black belt and try to make sure it was a cool school and that they were good with me showing up, and go and train with them. And once I would, find one in one little city or whatever, I would always kind of go back to that city. I find now that I'm a black belt, I'm a little bit more hesitant I want to make sure I know who it is, because especially so at 52, I don't want to roll in there as a black belt because I'm going to have a target on my back and have all these young 22-year-old blue belts trying to kill me. I'm not there for that. So I'm a little bit more picky about where I train. For me, it's more about, getting to meet people, train with them, see what they do, and not so much the competition aspect of it. I do love to roll. So I'll go in there and roll no matter where I go, but sometimes I pay for it the next day.
You any schools still on your wish list? Any places you still like to visit?
There's a ton in California, right? I made it out to AOJ, and that was fantastic. But there's a lot of different schools that, it's just packed with good jiu-jitsu. One thing I do want to do, I want to go to Lucas Leitch's school out in California because I like half guard, and he is the guy that I patterned my half guard after. So I want to get out there and see if I can't do a week or something with him. I don't, of course he doesn't know this. I haven't even asked him, but I'll figure out a way to make a vacation out of it.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
How did you find most of the schools sort of going around, and did you find most of them were pretty cool and all right with you training and not trying to kill you too bad, or did it just depend?
So I found that I think it's personality, right? My personality. I think I approach people in a non-threatening manner. I'm super friendly. I want to, it's all about, I want to come see what they do. I think, what their school is great. And I want to hear how they're teaching class and what they're doing. If you approach it a little different and you walk in the door kind of with that attitude, then, the same schools that I think are good could probably say, hey, you know what, we need to turn it up on this guy. So I think 99% of them are going to be fine. It's just a lot of how you kind of prep them for your arrival. Like I never show up at the door. Hey, I forgot to call you or ask you, but I'm in town. Can I come train here? I think that's a bad idea. So I always give them a phone call and see if they'll be happy for me to come in, and they usually are.
Yeah, that's a good tip. And how do you start off? I've heard a couple of people talk about this. How do you start off kind of when you're rolling? Will you just go in there and kind of play defensive and see what it's like and kind of feel it out from there, or?
Yeah, I don't. So I would say how I roll all the time now is almost like that. And I don't know if it's out of laziness or what. So I just start rolls off fairly slow, and I play a lot of defense, and that's probably a something I need to work on. I need to probably do a little bit more attacking sometimes, but it's just kind of my nature. I am going to let someone instigate usually what they want to do and see where it's going to go. So I don't go in there and try to take the top position and start smashing people and whatever. Usually I end up mad at myself because I was too passive, and I got myself really deep into a hole, and then I couldn't get out of it.
I was just about to say, Geoff, I do that all the time. I let people do what they want to do, and then I can't get out of it, and I'm thinking, what did I do that for?
Yeah. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course there wasn't an escape for that, but why'd you ever let him do that? Could have tried a little bit harder before.
Yeah, I just got to get better. I roll like I'm like I think I'm better than I am. I'm not. It's just tap.
Yeah. Why is this guy letting me get mount on him again?
It's all fun and playing.
I thought I'd learned by now, but no, still keep trying. I'm gonna get better, one day.
I don't know if you guys experience this, but this is my take in the last couple of years on my training. So I'll go in and I think it has to do with like getting older. In the past, when I would go train, I would know, oh man, I don't feel good today. It's going to be rough. And you'd go in when I was younger and I'd get smashed. And then there's days where I'm feeling great and it's going to be fun. And I'd go in there and great session. I was killing everybody. Well, now some weird magic has occurred where I can go through a whole day feeling pretty good. I'm like, oh yeah, it's going to be a good night. And I just,
we've got to freeze at the important bit.
Oh no,
I didn't know if that was just me.
no, it's
No, Jeff's frozen. The thunderstorm's got him. We'll give it.
it's putting it's putting a beautiful face on my screen as well.
Yeah, for people on audio, you're missing out. Hang on. No, he's still frozen. We may or may not have lost him, but that's okay. We'll get him back if we have lost him.
Musical interlude. Robbie got to sing for us.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on, he'll come back. That's give us the good stuff about feeling good all day and then losing it when you get to the academy, which I definitely know all about. I blame putting the mats out. I'm fine. I put the mats out and I'm exhausted, and that's it. I'm done for the night. I've got nothing left.
All about this.
I blame.
I don't know. Yeah, it's all about energy conservation.
Yeah, I guess until Geoff comes back, we can talk about the fact that as of this, this week we have had the news that we can do something.
Something is happening.
Yeah, something is happening. Don't know what quite that something looks like yet, but something is happening at the end of this month.
Something's definitely happening. Yeah, we'll mark it for posterity in the podcast history.
Yeah.
That this week was the week that they said you can go back and train, but don't touch each other.
Oh no, you wouldn't want to do that. They're unclean.
If you do, don't touch each other. So yeah, we'll see. Hang on, shall we jump on Facebook and see if he's still floating around in the internet?
I want to hear the end of the story.
I know. I was enjoying that.
Magic happens where he's going to feel good, but what? What do you think?
That was upsetting.
It's so magic that the universe had to come and put a stop to it and telling us.
Hang on, Phil for me.
So, Bill, how's it going?
Yes. It's going really well, really well. I'm enthused by the thought of getting back to something normal soon. Hopefully, one day.
Pete and I have now got and yourself if you want in, but Pete and I need to sit and digest what's been announced so we can actually work out what it is we can do and what it is that will be what people want, in the interim period between going back and having, and then being able to actually have some sort of contact as well.
So it makes sense. Obviously, I think a lot of people obviously no contact to begin with. But then like a later phase is when they start training in bubbles. But if you've got like a couple or something that train, because is it Martin?
That's a good idea. We haven't got many of those, but we've got a few. And like I've seen some people that basically said, look, if you haven't got someone that trains jiu-jitsu, but you have got someone at home, bring them instead.
Yeah.
That's an option.
Yeah, we could say that.
See how that works out. We've got to look at it and see.
And if you haven't, then just move out of your house and move in with someone that does train jiu-jitsu.
Well, no, in all seriousness, I think this might actually drive a greater demand for like commune type living. Just one big bubble, so you can just carry on regardless.
Bubble. You've been going down to Glastonbury too much, haven't you?
It's got to be sustainable ways and all of these things. It's bang on topic at the moment.
Exactly. Yeah. It's
Jiu-jitsu commune.
It's so hard. And
Sorry, Rob, say again.
We're white.
Yeah. Any colour as long as it's white.
No.
We just, for those that don't know, we're obviously in the UK. We're waiting as well. Hey, Jeff's back. We're waiting for probably the people we can look to is the BJA, British Judo Association, for what they can do, and then we're just kind of following. Here he comes. He's back. Thunderstorm wiped him out, but he's back. It just got to the key moment.
I can't. Yeah, I was talking, and the facial expressions of you guys didn't change, and I thought, well,
Geoff, you've got to look at this back on YouTube because you'll see the facial expression of you as it froze. It was a magical moment.
and so there I was.
It was a bit like that as well, because you got to the part, I think you literally said the words, what you were saying obviously about when you're getting ready to go to class, you're feeling good, and you said, and then you get to class and you
said, no, this magic thing happens. This magic thing happens now. I'm feeling good all day, and I go to class, and and your face picture.
Yeah. So what I was saying is, I go to class now that I feel like I'm older, and I'm feeling good all day. I'm ready for a good session. And I go and just get absolutely smashed. Nothing I can do. I can't stop. I couldn't stop 10-year-olds from getting them out on me. I'm like, what is going on here? And then other days I won't feel all that great, and it'll be an excellent session. So I'm living in this, inverted world somehow, where I can't trust my feeling anymore. So what I have determined is that, I have to pay attention to, I try to pay attention to my diet and all of my, habits, like make sure I drink water, because I used to not really, I never really took care of myself when I was young. I just did whatever, and still I could get away with it. Now I have to make sure I drink water throughout the day, make sure I eat and don't skip meals. Otherwise, I'll show up thinking it's going to be fine, and I'll leave that night going, what just happened to me?
I still haven't even the days where I think it's going to be good, it's just, I don't think I've ever had a gauge for it. I've just kind of turned up and thought, yeah, it'll be great. And no, and yeah, same thing. Like sometimes just upside down, no matter what I feel like it's going to be like, it's never like I think it's going to be like.
Right. And I've also learned the old I'm just going to buckle down and try harder and turn the tables on this roll doesn't work.
No.
Somebody passes your guard or gets to mount, and you're like, okay, that's it. Not today, buddy. I'm fixing this problem. And then sure enough, he takes my back and chokes me out. So
I think the worst days are where you're feeling good, and then you think, yeah, it's going to be a good day, and then it just all goes wrong. They're the days when you leave the gym and you just think, what on earth? What kind of a hobby is this? But then you go home and then you think, oh, but if I'd have done that, and that's what, it's just that little voice in your head. It's just saying you should have did this instead. And
there's
I've
probably
got to go back and try it.
There probably should be a support group for wives, because my wife hears it. She's like, oh, she could tell you all the stories about me coming home saying, I can't believe so and such passed my guard today. She's like, don't you have anything else of interest to talk about?
What you want to start worrying about is when she gives you the answer as to how to stop it.
Yeah. Well, maybe you should have tried this.
Well, if you'd have got the underhook on the left-hand side, it wouldn't have happened.
Connection, Geoff. You just need some connection, better connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when you've got to really worry. I don't know. I find that, I think my best times are when I'm, well, these guys say I'm like it all the time, but when I'm mindless, when I'm not thinking about it, I'm just kind of there, and somehow it just happens, and I don't have to, the minute I think about something, it's like, oh no, it's gone. It's like trying to grab air.
Yeah. I think I would say we're wrong. 80% or more of when I roll, I feel that I'm sort of in that mindless state. But so I heard an interesting thing that is changing how I'm kind of approaching that. So I heard Gordon Ryan talking on one of his, I don't know if it was a podcast or something, an interview. And they were just asking him about, how he's able to do so well or something. And he's talking about black belts, and he says it's not hard. He said, I just know what I'm doing, and these other people don't. Right? He says something to that effect, and I kind of was wanted to ask. I was like, I wonder if he's just making a cocky statement, or if he really has this system of, I'm going to go in there and this is the system I'm going to deploy on these guys, and that's the key. And the other guys just go in there with, we'll see what happens. So I've thought about that, and I thought, well, maybe I should have like these game plans that I just run, which I don't generally. I just am like, all right, we'll see what happens.
So what's the A game then, Geoff? What's the first game plan you've come up with?
Well, so my game plan from that was, I still probably am gonna start on bottom, pull guard, and unless we start on feet, I might actually try a takedown. But then my game plan is, okay, well, all your sweeps, Geoff. So instead of just sitting here playing guard, make a sweep happen. And I have, the ones I like, my little sweeps, make a sweep happen, get to top, work to try to take the back or the mount, and then, work for a finish. And so while that's not super complicated, it's just kind of a roadmap for what I need to be doing. Because I think maybe you guys might be similar. I'll play guard, and the whole goal, I don't really have a goal. It's just don't let anybody pass my guard. And that's kind of really, in a self-defense perspective, that's not really good. It's kind of fun for maybe playing and improving your guard. But if you're thinking about self-defense, you need to be able to be on the bottom, sweep your opponent, get to a top position, and submit him if you can. So I think I need to remind myself of that when I roll and try to make that happen. It's not going to happen with everybody, but at least I'll have a sequence of what I'm trying to do, other than hope he does. I'm not going to let him pass my guard.
I mean, you said earlier as well, and for those people that haven't met you, I mean, you are a smaller guy, right? How did you end up playing more guard though? Because normally, like, smaller people, wouldn't you try and be in kind of a mount position more? Or I guess
Well,
it's easy.
Typical jiu-jitsu schools, you start on the bottom. Oh, well, you don't start on the bottom. You start like on the knees or whatever. So I just pull into guard, just because I'm fairly comfortable there. But yeah, as a smaller guy, I've realized when I pull guard on someone that weighs, like 20, 30 kilos heavier than me, like makes it tough. So, so I probably shouldn't. But on the flip side too, right? If I try to take top position on some bigger guys, I mean, it's difficult to keep that sometimes.
Stay there, yeah, no, it's hard. Yeah,
they're strong. They can. You have to move around a lot, which I don't move around too much anymore. I'm slow. Like, that's why I'm like my nickname's the Sloth.
Oh. There's somebody else here who we call the Sloth as well. Maybe.
I think there's 3 sloths on this video. To be honest,
what's the collective name for sloths?
I don't know. I'll look it up. Haldor is travelling around Iceland at the moment. I've asked the guys if there's any questions for Geoff, and Haldor says, since I can't watch tonight, just say hi from me. So Haldor sends his love.
Awesome.
He's driving around Iceland in a camper van at the moment.
Yeah. What was your? So you're playing a lot of guard. What's your like go-to start? Is it go to close guard, or are you playing more? You said half guard, obviously, after
half guard usually. Well, I'll start in some kind of open guard. There's areas of improvement, and I think you just, I don't know. You go to, sometimes you gravitate what you like to do and what you're good at. I need to make sure I train areas that I'm not. I wouldn't say my closed guard is super great. I struggle with closed guard against bigger opponents. Opponents where I'm barely getting the feet locked. I just feel like it's only a matter of time before they're able to break that lock open and start to pass. So that's why, especially with bigger opponents, and so I don't feel like my neck is in great shape. So I don't like getting stacked. And for me, one way to avoid that is to play a little bit more open guard and just keep people a little bit farther away from me and not let them pressure into me as much. and stack me. So that's generally why I kind of stick to the half guard. If you play half guard, people feel like they've halfway past your guard, and so they're trying to smash you and not really stack you as much. So I don't know. I maybe I just like to suffer. That's why I pick these positions.
Sorry, I can't stop laughing at the moment. I just looked up what the collective noun for a sloth was, and you've got to have a guess. Go on.
Oh,
It's the best word. It's the best.
a hammock.
No. It begins with S.
A sloth.
No, it's a snuggle.
Oh,
A snuggle of sloths.
Oh, there you go.
snuggle of sloths.
Come here and give us a snuggle. Yeah.
That could be a team name.
Yeah.
Snuggle Jiu Jitsu.
Next time we're together, Geoff, I'm going to have to pick your brains on that open guard thing, because I'm not a short guy, but I have ridiculous body proportions. So I have tiny legs, but quite a long body. So no matter who I'm training with, I always just struggle to wrap my legs around their waist. And yeah, I haven't quite worked out a decent open guard kind of game yet. I don't know. Yeah, so I'm going to have to pick your brains on that one.
Well, so I would say I changed I felt like I had to go or wanted to go towards the more of an open guard and half guard. But, as of the last 3 or 4 years, every jiu-jitsu guy out there has been infatuated with leg attacks. And that has also ruined my guard game because, playing half guard, I can't count the number of times I've gotten some guy doing a rolling toe hold on me or something. So I've had to adjust it. I've had to learn how to play a more of an open guard and hide my feet, which has been fun. I did watch a lot of the Danaher guys, how they play guard and how they hide their feet and get into sweeps, and try to do what I can do from that.
I feel a bit with the leg lock stuff. We haven't really talked about that on the podcast, but with the leg lock stuff getting bigger and bigger, I feel baffled by it still. I still like, I watch some of Danaher's stuff and I kind of get it. I get I get the concept of what they're trying to achieve and things like that. And then I watch those guys roll and go, oh, I didn't see anything that happened then. I didn't get it. But then with all, how do you kind of sort, like now, obviously at the black belt stage, how do you kind of sort it? Because at purple belt, I still feel like obviously I'm getting a lot of information still, and there's still loads of stuff that I'm learning all the time, but also kind of diverging into working with concepts, not just moves all the time now. And we've talked about that on the podcast quite a lot with people. But then I look at the leg lock game and I'm like, oh, it's like, it is, for me, it's definitely starting again. Yeah. How do you kind of pick and choose, and how do you kind of, I don't know, now at your stage, how do you kind of pick and choose what you look at and get new stuff in, and without sort of getting overwhelmed by knowing all of that stuff?
So yeah, I think it's important to pick and choose, right? In any part of it, like whether you're kind of like looking at jiu-jitsu a lot. I mean, the leg locks have always been around, but they've become super popular. I think you should. I'll coach a lot of people, and I tell them I think you should play jiu-jitsu and then figure out what your game is, what you like to do, and that's what you have as your core, and then you build from there. And that's not to say, and that's a little bit contrary to like training in a curriculum. I mean, I feel you can train in our curriculum, have a concept of all the different moves, whether it's white to blue, blue to purple, and things like that. But you also need to kind of have what's your core, be really good at that, work at that, and then you start to build out on top of that and expand with things that you can bring into the game. And so I would do that with jiu-jitsu, and then I would add at some point, start adding some legs into that. I would by no means say I am a leg expert. There's a couple things I do well. and I think I try to defend legs well, because for a long time I didn't really care so much to know a lot of that, but a lot of people were really into it, and so they kept trying to attack my legs. So the one thing I wanted to get out of it was, how do I defend all this, right? And you could approach it that way. You know, you could say, listen, I'm going to be an excellent defensive guy, but I just really don't care to attack this way. I'm going to go back to, you know, other attacks that I have, past the guard and get to mount, whatever. You could do that. But I think that's how I approach things, because there's just too much information out there, too much to learn. And if you try to be good at everything or learn everything, you won't be good at anything. So that's generally what I do. I wouldn't say, if you watch me now, I think my roles are some of the most boring things you'd ever see. You know, I just want to control people. I don't want them to, you know, jump around. I want to control where they move and how fast they move, and I want to get to the positions I want. And it's very much sloth jiu-jitsu. So yeah, I don't do any inverted guard. I don't do any cartwheel passes. I don't do any of that stuff.
I like it then. If I think, like, with, I don't know, we're odd things, but I feel like we're getting chased down so hard by all the other guys at our school, especially, you know, oh, okay, I'm rolling with Pete or Rob now, it's time to kill someone. And I feel like every time we get on the mat to roll, you know, they'll do what we say with everyone else and say, look, just take it easy, blah, blah, blah. And then it comes to us and it's like, right, kill.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
I don't know if it's gonna ever change, right?
I feel like all I do is like, survive, don't die.
Yeah, you create these little snakes and they'll bite you, right?
Yeah, some of them are getting some good fangs on them too.
Yeah, they are as well. And the adults kind of through the lockdown thing have been on and off, and some people have been kind of doing, you know, bits and pieces and training hard. Some people, I think, have just not been able to, you know, they've just been trying to work and everything else really and survive the lockdown. But the group that will come out of it insanely better than when they went in with the kids.
Yeah.
Because they're just training all the time with us on Zoom. Like, most of them are showing up to class like twice a week, training with their parents on Zoom with us. Like, so they're getting one-to-one the whole way through class with their parent being their body. They're just practicing. And they're the ones that are going to come out as, I mean,
They don't ever get tired either. So when they come back, they won't get tired and they'll have all these skills.
I'm watching
the parents though, Pete, that train, you know, the parents that have kids that train and the parents that train as well, they're going to come out good.
Yeah.
Because they're getting some. They've not forgotten anything, have they? They're still kind of like wise to it all.
Yeah, it's going to be weird to see how people, like, how they are when they come out of it, and, you know, obviously the people we haven't seen for a bit, see how they are, and yeah, one day, maybe.
One day, you guys will be set free soon.
Yeah. I think we've got a little road before. Yeah, I think we've got a little while till they'll let us touch anyone.
How long was jiu-jitsu not allowed for in Atlanta, Geoff? How long were you out for?
Man, you know, that whole thing was like a blur. So I'm trying to. When we had the lockdown, I think I lost track of time. I didn't know what day of the week it was and things like that. So I can't. I'd have to look at a calendar to see how many weeks we actually were, you know, not doing anything. I think it was probably definitely all of March. I think in the beginning of April we weren't open, but a couple of us were like meeting up to do some training. And then I'm not sure, they allowed gyms to open back up sometime in April, and it was strange because, you know, they had all these rules and regulations, and it was really difficult to do. Like some schools actually were trying to go by all the rules of social distancing, and I thought, how do you have a jiu-jitsu class? And I think several of the people I know that ran schools decided I'm just going to wait until we can actually run a proper class, because, you know, what are they going to get out of it other than you just do Zoom classes and they get the same thing out of it, right? Trying to people were building like dummies to train with out of pillows and gis and stuff like that, and I was just do you have one? Do you have one?
You know what, I've used it. The only time I use it is when we're teaching the kids class, and like I want to give, so what we've been doing is Robin's daughter and both of Bill's sons have been basically the demo bodies for the kids class. So like I've been kind of in there planning the classes and then online with these guys and saying, right, now we're going to do this, and I'll do all the warm-ups and you know, all of that kind of stuff with the kids. And then, yeah, I've been using the dummy to show Bill or his kids what I want them to show for everyone to watch so that they can copy it, kind of thing. So,
yeah.
But apart from that, it's completely useless.
So
the dummy comes in handy because it saves me from, you know, strangling my children. So we like the kids to demo on the adults. So it gives Pete a chance to show my little boys or Sophia, Robin's little girl, you know, what it is they've got to do to me or Rob.
That's great.
It's when I see the vein starting to stick out of Bill's head, what I do is quickly press mute on his window, so that I'll go, right, I'll demonstrate this on the dummy. Okay, let's do.
Aaron, will you please just do it?
Turn his camera off whilst he's.
Oh.
It's so hard though, like, because they just want to play as well, and it's like, you know, we play in between when I'm muted, but yeah, it's hard, like switching from play to like demonstrate to, you know, yeah, but it's good fun. They are
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So do you guys you guys have your I guess fundamental class, and then you have an advanced class, right? So what's the when you do your blue belt and above class, like generally what's the curriculum you guys are using for that?
We're using blue to purple, obviously with the blue to purple, and then the extra self-defense, and then we're using sort of whatever we've done with seminars with people. So because obviously what Alan does with us a lot of the time is some really, you know, structured seminars and things like that, then you know, they make great classes, you know, sometimes stretched over a couple of classes obviously, but you know, and then when he comes over he'll give us stuff, and then just everything. Obviously we're so lucky with that bit of the curriculum that we started building up is stuff from like when you were there, like stuff that Mike did with us when, you know, when we were there. So we'll take some of the white to blue moves and show some of the extra little details that we've been shown by like Mike or by Alan or by Master Sauer, or so we can then build on what they've already done. But we kind of structured it around the blue to purple to start with, and then we just kind of added little bits from there. So that's pretty much it, isn't it, Rob? I don't think we've done anything more than that really. We've just
because we do it in like a rotation, right? So we kind of go through positions, and this is okay. So everything to do with mount, okay. Everything that's to do with side control, everything that's to do with back, and that kind of, if you imagine that like a circle, that circle is just kind of expanded as we've got more and more classes to fit in it, you know. But it did start off just as the blue to purple stuff, really.
Yeah. So that's what I'm always trying to tweak curriculum. Well, in my own, for me, like how I would teach stuff, and I think that's what I would do is like you'd break out a period of time for a position, right? For a week or two, we're going to work side control stuff, mount, back, and then run that through like that blue to purple curriculum. But I've always wanted to try to figure out a way to get through the whole curriculum, but keep it short enough that the rotation through is not like, oh, I saw this 20 weeks ago. That's the struggle I always have is like trying to get someone to see the same move, you know, where there's not like this massive gap. Last time I taught it,
big enough, but not, you know, so big that it passes once a year.
Yeah. So hard. That's a hard one to do.
Yeah. Our white to blue, what is it? It's about 2.5 months, isn't it? On the rotation. Yeah. So white to blue we get through in 2.5 months, and that's pure white to blue with a couple of with some of the sort of Gracie Academy style stuff with the stages of guard and that kind of stuff in there as well.
Yeah.
Mixed in, and then slightly shorter on the open rank class, isn't it? Probably like down to 2 months, but that'll build up. I mean, that'll go build up. But then, like you say, it's that combination, isn't it? Because when I was listening to or looking at the Gracie Academy, their curriculum almost takes a year to get through. Once you get to the advanced, blue belt and above, it takes you almost a year to see the same technique again, which is a long time. It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I haven't looked a ton of their curriculum, but I'm actually going to meet with a guy that runs a Gracie school here on Saturday, and go down, take his class, and hang out and chat with him, because I was curious how they do it. Because I was looking at their stuff online, and I said, you know what, I'll just go talk to someone. They can explain it better to me. They go through their whole curriculum.
Yeah. I think they've structured it really well, and everything they've do is really well structured and thought out and everything else, and backed up with the video, all of that stuff. They're probably doing it, dare I say, kind of the best out of everyone from that point of view. But it's just, it's a lot, isn't it? But then I suppose they're going through that curriculum almost until black belt, aren't they? But then they haven't finished it yet, have they?
No.
They've only got up to purple belt.
Are they doing purple belt now?
Yeah.
So that's why, that's the curiosity for me of how, like, if you want to create I don't know. So the trade-off is you go through a large curriculum, takes a long time. At the end, someone sees moves and hopefully understands these techniques. But I think if you then would approach it on a competition side, if you wanted someone to be really effective at it, you would probably shrink that down and then focus on a smaller set of techniques that maybe are tied together in more of a philosophy. So I've always had this, what's the balance there, right? I want to have, teach students like a complete curriculum, but I also want them to be very proficient at it, because if I am teaching self-defense or if I'm teaching competition, you don't want to teach self-defense and then have them know a lot but be good at nothing, right? That's not good for a self-defense situation. So I always kind of run that through my head. I like to ask other people what they do, how they think, what they think about it.
That's why we kind of keep the fundamental loop going, because that is your real fundamentals, not basics, just fundamental stuff. The stuff that gets you out of trouble.
Yeah.
And we've got guys. Bill's our most sort of senior student as a purple belt, but we've got guys from 2-week white belts up to Bill. But everyone jumps in on those fundamentals classes still.
Yeah, we used to do that. Anytime Master Sauer would show up and teach a fundamental class, I would go, because I was always going to learn something from it.
Yeah.
We say, don't we, about some of the moves, like the under the leg guard pass or the back escape. Generally, those two are the ones that normally every time someone shows it to you, it's like, oh yeah, there's something else.
Yeah. So what about, because I know, Bill, you asked me like how wrestling helps my jiu-jitsu, but I know Robin and you guys have striking backgrounds. So how does that play into your jiu-jitsu? Because I don't have any of that, and sometimes I wish I did.
To be fair, I think for a stand-up, I've kind of, for the most part, I've switched over to, I don't want to get hit in the face. I'm not a big fan of it. So I want to get in as clear as possible. But what I do like it for is the fact that when we get to the floor and we start, we put some gloves on, we start doing some of the sort of fight simulation type stuff, that I feel reasonably comfortable with that, straight off the bat, because you know how to throw a punch. You're not just like, you've got a little bit of you've got that movement ingrained in,
Yeah, a little bit of experience with that, right?
Yeah. I feel like that distance management's easier. I feel like that kind of, I know how I can move in and out of that, although my striking would be super rough right now. because we haven't done it for so long. Like, you know, started doing jiu-jitsu and almost stopped completely with the striking. But I feel like, yeah, my distance management would possibly be better than someone that hasn't done striking.
That's a good point, actually. Right, because you understand the length of your limbs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good. I fully agree with that. Not having striking, like I understand the closing the distance from a wrestling perspective, but I always wonder, man, would I get caught coming in, and would it be lights out?
But they call it like a fighting measure, don't they? It's like how, you know, a fighting measure is like, you know, how far someone has to move to hit you. Can they reach you? Can they punch you? Can they kick you? But a fighting measure changes depending on what they're using, because it is different between a punch and a kick, and it's different. Like how close you can be to be able to shoot a double on someone is different necessarily to someone punching you. So you think, oh, I'm safe here, they can't get me from a wrestling point of view. But
Yeah.
you sit there and think about that in real time. That's got to be something that's quite intuitive.
Training with these guys though, Geoff, you know, it stands out to me like how comfortable they are when you're starting standing, and you know the whole part of, you know, the takedown, closing the distance. You know, I'm a bit more like you. I don't have a striking background, and I overthink the whole stand-up bit massively. For a long time, I was like, I have to look for the right cue to know to do the right, you know, am I going to helmet hit and hug, or am I going to, you know, duck under and go to, you know, to like T position, but with the head at the back, or you know, or am I going to go for a double? You know, what do I go for? And I'm always like trying to think, yeah, I need the right cue to do the right takedown. It took me until maybe a year ago for Pete to finally get the message through. Don't worry about the right move. You know, most of the time, one or the other of those will work. You just have to commit to it and go for it. And yeah, helmet hit and hug tends to kind of work.
we know genuinely from training strikers, or for like kickboxing matches or whatever, or being in that situation, that 90% of the time you'll see someone, you know, even someone that's trained really hard in striking. We always joke about this one scenario where we're taking one of our guys to an MMA fight, and this guy was in the back hitting pads like he was, like we were watching him going, he's sharp, really sharp, lightweight guy, little lightweight guy, really sharp, great footwork, in and out, super fast hands, really straight punches, no telegraphing. We were like, ooh, he's going to be, and he went in there and just started windmilling. We were like, where did that guy go? Where's the dude? Where's your twin that was hitting the pads really nicely out there? So we also know, this was what I think I've said to Bill before, is like, don't worry about it, because even a good striker will go to bits the minute the fight starts. The minute it really kicks off, they'll start swinging for the fences, and so then your jiu-jitsu stuff then is perfect.
Yeah.
What's your first takedown that you think of, Geoff? You know, having that wrestling background, what would you go to normally?
So I'll do a double leg, basically a variation of that. Most of the stuff in wrestling, because you have the mat and it's sporty, when you shoot a double leg, you usually are shooting down onto a knee. So that works if you're just trying to play around. But if you're thinking, you know, self-defense, and you're thinking MMA, they don't shoot double legs too much like that anymore. So I need to probably practice mine. But you know, you use the motion. You get the guy chasing, he's stalking you down, and you reverse that on him and take him in. You see a lot of guys. Sorry about that. Something keeps dinging here. You see a lot of guys in the UFC using that, and I think that would be my go-to off a punch. If I see a punch and I can slip it and hit a double leg.
Yeah, I think double legs look cool. You hit them hard and they bend double, and you can't. Yeah, it's good. I do like. I miss practicing double legs with Sam. You must have met Sam, giant Sam, 6'5".
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
There's
you guys had some. There was who was the other guy that was even bigger? He was a big weightlifter, power lifter guy.
Oh, that's Sam. That's Sam.
That's it. Oh, okay. I was thinking, were there 2 Sams?
Yeah,
There
it
were
was.
2 Sams that year,
Okay.
actually. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always fun training with Sam.
Double legs with Sam. It's yeah. If you can reach your arms around his legs, you know.
Oh.
But when it works great.
See, if it was Sam, I wouldn't try a double leg. I would pull guard.
Well, we've told this story on the podcast before. So when we had the seminar with Luis, all the guys are standing in the hall, and we walk in with Luis, and he's obviously in his gi, and instantly Luis's eyes go to Sam, and he looks at him and he goes, "Jiu-jitsu is not for you."
Oh.
Jiu-jitsu is for us to beat people like you. It's not for you.
It's not for you.
And then
He didn't want to teach him. He didn't want to teach him anything.
No. And then he looks at me and Robin, and is like, he's already like weighing up in his head how he'd get him. He's like, I wouldn't try and armbar him. I'd take his back and choke him.
Oh my gosh.
The fight.
See, that's good. That was one of my little mottos, right? When it sort of like tongue in cheek. You know, I think it was some Marine general that was, I think it was the Secretary of Defense over here, used to say, always be polite, always be professional, but have a plan to kill everyone you meet. And that sums up exactly what he's doing. How am I gonna take that big guy out?
Yeah. He's definitely one of my favorite people. But I always feel with Luis that the veil of civility is very thin. Like with Master Sauer, it's really well hidden.
Yeah.
The savagery is really well hidden, but with Luis, it's like this far from the surface. And yet
He's great. But he's
the nicest guy, so cool, just awesome, and was one of my heroes that I really wanted to train with for so long. Yeah, awesome, amazing. But yeah.
You could do a little Hawaii trip.
That's definitely on the cards. My lighting's died again.
Go train them.
Yeah, Hawaii's on the list. That's the problem with doing this podcast. We've ended up with the biggest road trip.
Around the world trip. So Geoff, you know, when Atlanta was like closed down, when you all got back to the mats after that, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, however long it was, how did you stop people from killing each other, or were they just well behaved, or?
So it was only a couple of us, but that's what people were like. Man, I'm going nuts because I haven't trained, and so luckily everyone had kind of lost a little bit of cardio. So as aggressive as they were, it usually only lasted for a round before they were like, "Oh my gosh, I'm dying." So that was helpful, right? Because everyone was good for one solid round of trying to kill each other, and then, hey, let's just slow it down a little bit. So word of advice is you just let all of them go one round before you join in.
Yeah, that's black belt thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always think of like jiu-jitsu, when you're training regularly, it is like wearing, me and Rob always say this, it's like wearing a suit of armor, isn't it? Kind of like you get tough to everything, and I don't know, it's like a suit of armor. Things just bounce off you. I am genuinely worried about when I get back to training that first week. I think something's going to snap. I don't think I've got any core anymore. I used to pride myself on my neck. I think my head might just pop off.
But that's jiu-jitsu, being able to train with just being completely out of shape and still being able to do it. There you go. Still surviving.
I said to these guys yesterday, I said, I've been training quite hard in lockdown. I've been, working out quite a lot. But I'm such a one-trick pony that I was standing talking to my dad yesterday, and my back fell out of place just standing there. And then I went to the hardware store. I went to the DIY store today and picked up a box of screws and pulled the tendon in my elbow. I'm like, oh, come on, give me a break.
It's been a long time, Geoff, for us. We're falling apart.
Oh, man, You guys got to get on the mat while you can before it's too late. No, you guys are been around long enough, and I'm sure you see this. You know, you're always going to have something hurt, and you'll just learn how to keep training and rolling with something hurt. You know, I'm always surprised that I think the older you get and the more you train, there's something hurt, and you just, you know, becomes, you know, just common. Because I see a lot of kids, younger, even, you know, the younger 20-somethings, and they'll get hurt in jiu-jitsu. They'll pull a muscle or something, and they're out for a week. I'm like, you know how many times I've pulled a muscle or strained a tendon or whatever? I'm there the next day. because if I waited, I would never get to train because there's always something on me that hurts.
Yeah.
I was my rib when my rib got popped. I was like, I'll roll, just roll really light with a broken rib.
Yeah, tie it to whatever's next to it and just carry on, and you'll be fine.
Maybe that's where that, you know, playing off of your back comes from. You know, it's the kind of the safest place, right? You're not going to fall anywhere. You're kind of, most of you's in contact with the ground. Kind of, there's less variables. Yeah, okay, I'm good here. I'm good, right? You just try and strangle me. Yes, let's go.
Yeah, I'm probably more at risk of injuring myself, tripping over my own feet trying to pass someone's guard. So that's why I'll play guard, and if my arm hurts, I'll tuck it into the belt and try to just use one arm, and you can do okay with that stuff. So
yeah, like you say, we've got to convince some of the younger guys that it's okay. Just you can just slow down a bit and just still keep training.
Yeah, I just think they're so used to having that wonderful body that doesn't hurt when they get one little pain. It's like catastrophic. And I'm like, no, welcome to the world of chronic pain. I'm back here every day.
Oh, what we've got to look forward to.
I'm already there. What are you talking about?
I'm not far off. Not far off at all.
Yeah.
Geoff, it's been lovely to catch up with you again, buddy.
Yes, we should do this. You know, I am going to make a trip over there. I don't know when, but I'll come over, and so I'll have to hit you guys up, come by and see you.
Make sure we're out of lockdown so that we get to roll.
Oh, definitely.
Wave at you from a social distance.
Well, I'll definitely wait till we're out of this. Hopefully, we won't be into some other bubonic plague or something else, right?
Yeah.
I did see there was a case of bubonic plague in northern China. Did you see that?
Yeah.
It was a one-off. So yeah, but gee whiz, it was like, what next?
I don't know. There was someone I know posted something about they'd found some new, what was it? Rob will remember. There was some new physics experiment they'd done, and they'd found a new particle or something.
No, it was the quantum stuff, wasn't it? Because normally only very small stuff kind of pops in and out of existence.
That was it.
But what they were managing to do was to make things. What was it they actually moved? It was like the size of a door or something.
It was a mirror or something, didn't they?
As big as a mirror, like wobble.
Yeah, and I was like, not. One of my friends posted it, and he said, "Not today. Just leave it alone, fellas. Leave it alone."
It's Event Horizon or something.
Yeah. Oh, just no. Put it back in the box, just for now, just for a year or so.
Rob's like, is it Blofeld out of James Bond there with the cat on his lap?
That is the boss.
That's strictly for the YouTube people, the audio people. That'll be nothing.
Yeah. Don't let Hickson see the cat, because he'll start attacking the screen. You know.
Yeah, they'll want to start fighting.
Zoom fight. Awesome.
No,
right, well, I'll
you coming over, and I'll be getting some of those open guard tips.
Yeah, and if you guys, if any of y'all travel, if you're traveling over, hit me up. You're welcome to come visit. We'd love to have you.
Definitely.
Yeah, we're excited about being able to travel again and being able to train again, and
don't take it for granted.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the one thing you never ever do ever again.
I've got some family in Florida, and when we go there, we stop in Atlanta before flying down to the Panhandle. So yeah, next time if we do that again, if we do that trip, I'll see if I can arrange a bit of a delay or something.
Factor a day in there, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
Right, well, I'll kill the live stream. So I'll do that now.